Welcome to Lead Desk. My name is Rob Edwards, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at agent accounts. We're going to talk about how to create them, how to give temporary passwords so that your agents can actually log in, and how to set functional permissions for your agent accounts. Remember that the interface that the agent sees is very different from the one that the admin uses, so we'll need to choose which interface the agent uses. First things first, in your admin account, go to the Users page and make sure that you're on the User List subpage. Then click the Create button. The first thing we have to decide is what level of account we're going to create. The two main levels are Agent or Admin. If you want to create another account which has the same sort of access that you do, then create a new admin account. If you want to create an account where that person is going to be answering calls or placing calls, then choose Agent. There are other levels available. It is possible that you can create accounts for team leaders, managers, or even sponsors, but we're not going to get into that in this video. Decide ahead of time what you're going to use as the pattern for your username. It's good to be consistent about these things. You might go with first name dot last name, you might just use first name, you might use email address. All of these are viable options. Maybe you have your own schema as well. Generally speaking, the username can be letters, numbers, and a few limited punctuation marks. Dots allowed, ats allowed, hyphens allowed, but a lot of other symbols like pluses and question marks are not. You'll soon see if you're using one that's not allowed because the field will turn red. I'm going to create an account called rob.demo. While we're at the top of the user account information, it might be worth taking a moment to think about what language this agent will want to use Lead Desk in. Mine is defaulting to English. I can click this drop down here and change it to another language if I prefer. Next, we'll set the password for this account. This will be a temporary password, which they will need to change when they first log in, just like you had to change yours when you first logged in. It has to be 8 characters long, but it doesn't have the same restrictions that regular passwords do otherwise. Type something in. Make sure you know what you've typed and that you're able to share that information with the agent when you give them their account information. Click the Set button, and that temporary password is now set. Let's continue with the other mandatory information. We have to type in the full name of the agent. Let's say this guy's name is Rob Demo. Email is not mandatory for a regular Outbound account, but if you are going to be using single sign-on, you will need to record the agent's email address in this field. The final thing that we must do in the agent account is choose which UI mode that the agent is going to use. There are actually 2 different ways that this might appear on your screen, depending on whether you've enabled profiles or not. Profiles let the agent switch between which interface they are using if they need to change on the fly. But if we're not using profiles, and this setup here is not using profiles, we choose the one interface which is associated with this agent. It is defaulting to Outbound, and for our purposes, that is good. At the end of the video, I'll show you what it looks like if we have profiles enabled for our account. So that is the minimum data set that you need to create your account. I could just click on the Create button now, and this account would be created and ready to be used. But I just wanted to point out a couple of the optional things which are also worth bearing in mind. For user permissions, we have view permissions and functional permissions. View permissions lets you decide which pages of the agent account the agent should be able to see. You can uncheck whichever of these you don't want the agent to be able to access. And functional permissions, if you want this agent to be able to listen to call recordings, then make sure you tick this box. And again, if the agent is working inbound, we have an option there about letting them choose the queues that they wish to serve. If the agent is only working outbound, you don't need to worry about that setting. Finally, the VoIP settings, it's recommended that you do not touch those unless you are 100% sure what they are about. So I'm not going to cover them in today's video. Once all the settings are there to your liking, click the Create button at the top of the page. And that agent account now exists, and the agent can use it. We will, however, still need at some point to set what access they have in terms of what projects they can work on. But we'll talk about that when we talk about creating projects. So I've switched to a different environment now, which uses profiles for its agents. I'm still in the same place. I'm still in the create new user. I'm still creating a new agent. But in this case, we have the agent profiles option. Instead of just choosing our interface, we can create different profiles for the agent to allow them to switch between them. By default, it has created an Outbound profile for me and called it Outbound. We can click on the Create Profile button and create a profile called Customer Service and choose that in that case, they will be using the Omni interface. If I click Create on that, now when the agent is in their account, they will be able to go to a menu and choose whether they are working outbound or whether they're working customer service, and that will switch them between the outbound and Omni modes. So in this agent accounts video, we've had a look at creating the account, setting temporary passwords, setting permissions, and also which interfaces the agent is going to be able to use with this account. Thanks for watching.